This is a reminder about where to find the information for the attendance policy. We are looking at our course portal. What we need to do is go into the textbook and attendance policy in the left toolbar. Down at the bottom, you can find the attendance policy. We started on our last meeting reviewing the attendance policy, going through the categories. We didn't talk about undocumented leave. This is basically if a student is not compliant, doesn't fill out the paperwork and submit that to their team lead. We also didn't talk about here in the bold, so this is where we'll start. If you miss 7 more classes, and these aren't counting emergency leave, the employee or student can earn a failing grade and must repeat the course. We do offer this course in fall and spring and sometimes online in the summer. Here, what we have outlined is how do we implement the policy. So basically, for a paid time off, the employee should contact their team lead and within 48 hours of the absence. So sometimes you know beforehand that you will not be in class. Sometimes you don't know that morning. You end up not being in class. So you do need to reach out to your team lead and let them know. For both individuals' benefit. The team lead has a big responsibility of tracking the attendance for the organization. But also, if things change, then the team lead can tell you about any changes that were discussed in class or any new information that might help you be successful. So it works out for both the team lead and the employee that's absent. Then what happens is that the employee will complete the PTO, and you can electronically sign the PTO. And then they will submit that PTO back electronically to the team lead. So this will be a lot of, since these documents are downloadable in Word, you can just use a font and fill out the document. Sign that document using a signature. It doesn't have to be a formal signature. Sometimes you just write your name and then use a font, or you don't have to change the font, and then send that to your team lead. Now, the team lead needs this documentation because they are writing the reports, and so they have the date on it and how many PTOs that you have used in that instance or total for their time that the team lead is serving. But also the organization as a whole needs documentation. So there's what we call these checks and balances where no one person can make rules on their own. Their decisions are need to have evidence and supporting evidence to pass that along to the organization. So if any time someone wants to review these decisions, they have the supporting documents for it. In addition, this team lead assignment is rotated throughout the semester. And so team lead 1 has documents indicating that their team member was absent. Well, when team lead 2 takes that role, they need that evidence, that information to be passed on to them. This is similar to what all employees have within their organization, either a hard copy or electronic employee file. So as managers change jobs, employees may have 2, 3, 5 managers within their time at an organization. They want to make sure that their information was well documented in their employee file. Another thing is that all employee files, typically you have the right to take a look at most documentation in the file. So the information that is passed on will be not evaluated. Team lead 2 will not see an evaluated copy of team lead 1's memo, but they will see the copy that's submitted. Therefore, they have the information, but they do not know what team lead 1 has scored or any recommendations from the faculty for improvement. We did talk earlier about at the end of the course, you can redeem any earned but unused PTO. And this information is down at the bottom here for it. Also, additionally, I talked about we'll be offering other opportunities to earn PTO. This is kind of the extra credit throughout the course instead of having after grades are posted, students request an extra credit or extra assignment. That's unethical and unfair to all other students who've made decisions throughout the semester that to maybe, spend more time on one assignment or one exam. Just having something be awarded or an opportunity awarded at the end of the semester for one or two students just really is not fair to the organization as a whole. The question came up about COVID, and as I indicated in my opening statements of the course, that definitely made this type of policy challenging. But I still thought it was important because it's not just for attendance for the university. It's teaching us lessons that are used in the professional setting about paid time off, about being responsible to others on a team, about communication, about pending absences or past absences, and also roles that team leads serve about helping their team members be the best. And that's a difficult role sometimes to serve because if someone's absent, it actually puts a little bit more work on your plate if you're the team lead to make sure that that individual has the appropriate information, but also then collecting that report and adding that into your final report, collecting that PTO and adding that to your final report. But that is the job of a manager. And so teaching students about management, and then experience it, I think having that experiences kind of really instills the roles that managers serve to help not only the organization be productive, but individual employees. So COVID is its own category. In a way, it's an emergency leave. And there is going to be some interpretation because as we are seeing currently, in a situation where you might be in quarantine, you have no symptoms of illness, you're not feeling ill, so you're able to participate via remote. So that really is not an absent. That's just a different form of participation. And those who, if it was your on-day site, or your on-ground meeting and your team's there and they don't know if you are remote or not because we may or may not be able to broadcast the remote occupants on screen depending on how MS Teams is working. It will require your team lead on site to have a communication with me to ask if their team member was participating remotely. I'm willing to do that and also to maintain each other's privacy for it. So there's a fine balance that I'm willing to walk for, but I still think, having thought through this, that this policy is still valid. What I do, since I receive the information about students who are not attending class and students are reaching out to me when they have been either put in quarantine or and still can work or are in out of class and are unable to work, I can advise the team leads on whether this absence is a PTO or an EL. Now, this works out because I also have trust in my students. Yes, not everything is COVID. We do have allergies. We do have flu. We do have stomach viruses. We do have a lot of things that we will experience typically in a fall. And so I trust my students that they will use their PTOs appropriately. If you're in quarantine, I said it's not a PTO and it's not an EL. If you have a headache or a migraine, it is that. It is just a headache or a migraine, and it is a PTO if you miss class. It is not the beginning of COVID or any other, potential COVID. If that's reported as such, keep in mind, I need to, as a faculty member, report these instances to the university which then launches a contact tracing case. So if you feel that your symptoms are COVID related, there's a policy and procedure for that. We will follow through that policy procedure, find out what the outcome is, and maybe at that point decide if it's PTO or EL. Keep in mind, because we're fortunate to have a hybrid class, that we can participate remotely. But again, to participate remotely, it's not just I'm not feeling well that day. If you request participating remotely to still keep your PTO, then I also need to fill out paperwork for the university to indicate that a student has reported illness to me. They need to change their modality for the day. And once again, that given our environment, will launch contact tracing for potential COVID. So there's a little complexity here, but given that and thinking through this over the past couple of months, I do believe that our policy will work. I believe it's a benefit to students. It teaches them about experiences they will have post higher ed. Plus, it also helps students in the end, whether you're a student that can attend every day and doesn't actually need these extra points at the end. At least you know that you do receive that benefit, that awareness, and those points for your attendance. And if you're like me, I would attend every day that I could in class, but I maybe didn't score well on exams. I never really have been a good tester, but this policy would help those who are there, understand the material, but sometimes are challenged a little bit about multiple choice or true false or essay test. And so this kind of gives them a little bit of a safety net.